Manoj Mitta, I'll come to you, sir. Manoj Mitta, there's a certain contradiction to it, and Tushar Gandhi has made a point, so I'm going to come right back to that question. Because, symbolism, totems, appropriation, all of that aside, but let's keep it in and take a look in the current context. He started the conversation about, certain journalists who've been raided. But where we look at it in terms of these journalists, in terms of certain activists, those who seemingly follow the Gandhian or the Ambedkarite philosophy or ideology, today some of them are facing sedition charges, some of them are being called anti-nationals. Do you read this dichotomy, the contradiction in the trends, and how do you analyze that? Because on the surface, we eulogizing them, but in terms of certain positions that we take, political and otherwise, we are in contradiction to them.
Very well put. Sorry. Thanks, Preeti. That was very well put, and I'm happy to be following after Mr. Gandhi because of his gesture of expressing solidarity with the journalists who were raided the other day. Being a journalist, I can't but express gratitude to him for that. And the specific point you made about
Contradiction.
sedition. Yeah. Sedition represents one major issue of appropriation, because you may recall that Gandhi was himself a victim of this provision of sedition. He was himself tried and jailed on that charge. And one would think that after India attained independence, and Gandhi was not the only one, even Tilak and others were put behind bars on this charge. Right? It was a provision that was weaponized by the colonial administration, and one would think that once India was decolonized, this would be something that the Nehru administration or the subsequent administrations would do away with. Right? And that's not what happened at all. So that itself shows how there is tokenism, there is insincere lip service, as he put it. And I would like to go a little, both Mr. Jadhav and Mr. Gandhi, gave the general context very well. I would like to go into the specifics of how each of the two major ruling parties that we have had, Congress and BJP, have appropriated these two historic figures in their own different ways because of their ideological...
their own approaches.
Yeah. Yes. So let me just dwell briefly on that. Gandhi was somebody who, especially towards the end of his life, he was all about Hindu-Muslim unity. And that was the cause for which he laid down his life. Right? And that set the tone for the new republic, and it did help the Nehru administration and the Indira Gandhi government to an extent of keeping the communal temperature under control, right? But then we saw something like 1984 happening, where a pogrom was orchestrated in Delhi, and we saw how that led to the Congress party of the time under Rajiv Gandhi reaping an electoral harvest, right? And that set a template for the other side. BJP, in fact Maharashtra is the first state where post 92-93 violence, it was the combine of Shiv Sena and BJP that came to power because of their alleged role in the violence and so on. And then we saw something similar happening post 2002 as well. The BJP under Narendra Modi coming to power with a thumping majority under the shadow of that violence, right? So we have seen that kind of travesty of Hindu-Muslim unity, or this communal harmony that Gandhi lived for and died for, and that was being violated in this manner in different ways by the two parties. Now, as far as Ambedkar is concerned, it is true that to Congress goes the credit of making him the first law minister of India. To Congress goes the credit of making him the chairman of the drafting committee and so on and so forth. But then once they fell out over the issue of Hindu Code Bill, he was completely marginalized, sidelined, so much so that it was many years after his death, when there was a non-Congress government at the center under VP Singh, They were the ones who, gave him his due. They were the ones who made him, Bharat Ratna. And then his works, his writings, gained popularity since then. And that engagement with ideas only began then. And that's why his persona, his influence grew astronomically since then, right? But then the current dispensation, for instance, BJP, now they very selectively deal with certain aspects of him, which is his views on Islam as expressed in Thoughts on Pakistan, one of his many books. Or, how when he finally chose to give up Hinduism, he ultimately chose another, what they call Indic religion, that is Buddhism. And they express great appreciation for that. But what they overlook, and very conveniently so, is that the bulk of Ambedkar's writings were a very scathing critique of Hinduism, of Hindu
Yes.
customs,
Nationalism.
of even Hindu scriptures. His most famous tract, that is Annihilation of Caste, goes on to say that there are certain scriptures we need to excise, certain portions which valorize
Or his
caste
understanding
discrimination.
of nationalism.
Yeah.
Very, very different
Yeah.
for what it is
Okay,
in the
let
current
me tell you that
context.
also. Like, for instance, what he said about Kashmir. What, BJP has made a religion out of, as somebody said before me, you put him on a pedestal, you don't engage with his ideas because they are so inconvenient to you. So you create what Modi government very famously did was they created Panch Tirth. They made sites associated with him as some kind of a pilgrimage, right? Circuit, Ambedkar circuit it is called. 5 different places you can go to, right? But what they don't engage with is on this very hot button issue of Kashmir.
Right.
What exactly did Ambedkar say? He very clearly said that his prescription was, let us divide Jammu and Kashmir into 3 zones, Jammu and Ladakh, the Buddhist area and the Hindu area, and keep that to ourselves. And as far as the valley is concerned, which is predominantly Muslim, let us have a plebiscite.
Right.
And whatever is the outcome of that plebiscite, let us go by that. And that is what he said then. Now,
Right.
one is not in the least suggesting that that's the solution we should adopt today. But these were the positions that these great men at different points of time took. So when you talk about Gandhi or Ambedkar, you have to look at them in totality. There were
Right.
certain values which are inconvenient to these respective parties and they ignored.
And it cuts
Yeah.
both ways. You're
And
right there.
That's
And
how they are guilty of the charge of appropriation.